I'm Lou D'Alessandro. Welcome to the Progress Report. Bob Backus is injured. He's on IL. So it's he'll be back from injured reserve next week. But I'm here with Naomi Andrews, and we're going to talk about the congressional race. But we hope Bob gets better. He was really looking forward to being here with you and with me. So. Again, his apologies, but the bad back takes place. But Naomi, you're in a crowded field, to say the least.
Yes.
So give us a little background, and please, why is anybody looking to go for Congress? I really can't figure it out. It seems like a mess, but I'm sure you'll do a great job. So tell us why, and a little bit about Naomi Andrews.
Thank you so much, Senator. Thank you for being on the show with me tonight, taking poor Bob. We wish him a fast and speedy recovery.
Yes.
I'm feeling fine. I have, my voice is a little strained, so I apologize for that. But I'm Naomi Andrews, and I'm running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. I grew up just down the road in Epping, New Hampshire. Graduated from the public school system there, went on to be a first-generation college graduate, and for the past 11 years, I've been living and breathing the issues of the 1st District because I have served as Congresswoman Carol Shea Porter's Chief of Staff, and I was her campaign manager for those 2 winning comeback campaigns. And so I love working for and fighting for the people of New Hampshire, and that's why I ultimately decided to run.
Naomi, you're from Epping.
Yes.
Home of 3 governors, by the way. I love that sign as
true.
I drive down the highway. So, and you've got experience having served as Carol's not only her campaign manager but chief of staff.
Yes.
What's it like in D.C. and how can you make a difference?
We're in trying times right now. We're in dark times, but I was there in 2007 when Democrats won the majority for the first time in 12 years. I'm cautiously optimistic that we could win the majority this time. And in 2007, we had an aggressive legislative agenda. And I believe that in January of 2019, we need an even more aggressive legislative agenda to undo the harm that's been done by this administration and this Republican-led majority. So I believe that our state and our country would be best served by someone who can get in there, know all the issues, have the experience, no learning curve, can hit the ground running on day one to work hard for the people of the state.
Well, certainly the people of the first district have they've been in and out. To be honest with you, we had Representative Shea Porter, Frank Ginter, Representative Shea Porter, Frank Ginter. Tell us about the progress that was made when Carol was there, when the Democrats were in the majority, and strike on some of the key points. You were there, you were part of the process. What was done that benefited the people of New Hampshire and the people of the country?
Absolutely. So you're right. This is a very tough district. It's only 25% registered Dem, 35% registered Republican, and the rest are undeclared. So in 2016, Carol and I actually won this district, and Donald Trump won this district. So it's a very challenging district.
Sure.
Some of the things that we accomplished, you look back on 2007, one of the first things our office introduced was increasing the amount of money for Pell Grants. So education is really important to me. I really want to see debt-free higher education for all of our public institutions, whether it's 2-year, 4-year. I want to see debt-free for when you come out of that institution.
Uh-huh.
The ACA, huge. Healthcare.
Yes.
It wasn't a perfect bill. We knew it was getting the train out of the station. We knew that there was enough in there that it was important to pass it, that you couldn't be denied for pre-existing conditions, that there were no more lifetime caps, that young people could stay on their parents' health insurance until the age of 26. But We were so upset when the public option was taken out of the health care bill, but we said, okay, let's pass it, and then we'll come back and tweak it and fix it. But unfortunately, for these past 8 years, we've had a Republican-led majority, and the only thing they've done is voted to repeal it 60 times. So we know we need to do better. And so I believe when we win that majority, the next step is allowing people to opt into Medicare. That's what I want to see next. And I think that we can get broad support for this, having Medicare be the public option.
Sure.
So that's what I want to see next.
Great. Explain to the people what the public option is. I think a lot of people don't understand that. Not a lot of people have thoroughly read that document. I know it was a voluminous document, but you're familiar with it. So explain the public option and why the public option is so important.
So instead of paying your premiums and deductibles to a private insurance company, it would be a government insurance policy such as Medicare, and that's what I want to see, is Medicare be that public option. So people know Medicare, they trust it, they're on it, their mom's on it, their grandmother's on it, they know it, they trust it, and that's why allowing Medicare, which has a much lower overhead costs than the private insurance companies, would increase competition, because it's a federal program, and really start to bring down those skyrocketing premiums and deductibles.
And again, the key situation is the skyrocketing cost.
It is.
We've got to do something to contain cost, number one, but we've got to make it more available, affordable and available to everybody. We joined the Medicaid expansion, and we've renewed the Medicaid expansion a little differently. Obviously, the first time it was totally an insurance situation. Now we're going to go to MCOs. How do you react to that situation in New Hampshire that will now be in effect as of January?
I applaud your work and the New Hampshire for actually going forward with Medicaid expansion. That is part of, as you know, part of the ACA.
Yes.
A lot of people aren't aware of that.
Yes.
And so it's important to highlight that the reason that New Hampshire is able to expand Medicaid is because of the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
So that's a wonderful thing, and we need to do even better in the future going forward, and we need that federal-state partnership. And I think on the federal level is where really the onus is to make it more affordable, more accessible. And that's why that next step, making Medicare be that public option for everyone, no matter the age.
Sure. And as the public recognizes, more than 50,000 people were on insurance because of the ACA and because of the work done by Representative Shea Porter in Congress and the Democratic majority that got this bill passed. New Hampshire has signed up for 5 more years. We've got a package that was put together. Now, the question that I pose to you, will CMS approve of our package?
Well,
the funding source.
Right.
We
will do our best to advocate for that. I would do my best to advocate for that as a member of Congress. I almost said the word "we" just so everyone knows. I legally had to quit my job as Carol Shea Porter's chief of staff in order to run.
Sure.
So sometimes if I refer to the work that the office has done, I might say we or our.
Sure.
But that's just because we've been working together for 11 and a half years.
Right.
So.
Sure. Well, it's a major part of the budget package that was passed here in New Hampshire,
Yes.
and a very significant component for the people of the state. I mean, healthcare is and moving to the MCOs. It's going to be interesting how it works, and the HHS will put an RFP out pretty soon if it hasn't done it already, in order to get responses. We have 2 MCOs in the pipeline right now that are playing, and hopefully we'll get a third. But Naomi, it's Naomi Andrews we want to talk about tonight, because you're the candidate and you want votes,
Yes.
and every vote counts. And how are you going about it?
I am working as I always have with a grassroots team. We're all volunteer and we're working hard. I have the best volunteers in the district because we're the ones that have won this district time and time again. And I'm so honored and humbled by all of the support that I have throughout the district. And I am out there shaking hands for votes, not shaking trees for money. I know that the way to win a primary in New Hampshire and a general, but right now I'm in the primary, is to go out and to talk to as many people as I can. And each and every day, that's what I'm doing. I'm going out, meeting people where they're at. I'm at coffee shops, I'm at diners, I'm at restaurants. I belong to a large running group that's throughout the district. It's called the 603 Running Group, and that's a part of my life. An important part of my life is running, and I'm meeting people that you don't encounter at all of the traditional Democratic events.
Right.
I'm trying to get out there and talk to new voters, and I'm really inspired by the number of new voters that I've talked to this year. I met a 35-year-old teacher who's never voted in her life, and she's voting this year because she knows how important this election is.
Sure. Well, I think it is an important election, and traditionally off-year primaries are tough in terms of getting the vote out. A key to this election is going to be to get the vote out, because my perception is that the numbers won't be as large as they are in a presidential year.
You're
So
right on.
How do you attack that?
And so I believe in 2014, the number of people in this district that pulled a Dem primary ballot was about 19,000. And in 2016, so a presidential year, the number of people that pulled a Dem primary ballot in that September primary was about 36,000. So it's hard to know how this will shake out, but you're right. There's not a lot of voters in a primary.
Right.
So I think the silver lining of having 11 candidates in the field is that we're all out there working hard at getting people out to vote, and then we'll keep those people engaged for the general election. This is a great field of candidates. A number of them have been my friends for a long time, and the plan is that we'll be friends on September 12th, and we're really enjoying each other's company. And there's not a lot of room between us on the issues, which is good. We're amplifying the message. But what sets me apart from those other candidates is having that experience, that congressional, federal experience, so I can really hit the ground running on day one.
Sure. I think we have a call.
Oh, wonderful.
Let's see. Hello, you're on the progress report. Do we have a call? Maybe I missed that. I'm not a very good operator. I answer a lot of calls at the office.
No worries.
but they come and go.
Yeah, you have Richard on line one.
On line one.
Wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Richard.
Just give it a second. Say
Okay.
hello again.
Hello, Richard.
Yes.
Okay, Richard, welcome to the progress report. You're up and at 'em. Naomi's ready.
I'm on the air.
You are on the air, sir.
Okay, I have a question for Naomi.
Sure.
I'm a small farmer in the Lake Region area, and I also produce maple syrup every year. And I've been doing it for about 14, 15 years now. And every year I notice that it's a little bit more difficult to get what used to be a normal sugaring season, because it either gets too warm or too cold. Anyway, my question is what is Naomi's position on climate change?
Okay, great. Thank you for the question. Naomi, climate change.
Yes, thank you, Richard, so much for calling in. I deeply care about the environment and about climate change. Climate change is real. On a personal note, I love the outdoors of New Hampshire. I take full advantage of the outdoors. My father, brother, and I have all hiked the 4,000-foot mountains in New Hampshire, and on any given day, I'm up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to kayak, or I'm going to swim in the ocean or the lakes. I really take full advantage of our beautiful state. But we know, as Richard said, temperatures are changing.
Yes.
Water levels are rising. Pollinators are in trouble. And frankly, so are we. So what can we do about it? We need to be a leader on this issue. What I'm going to fight for and advocate for is an Apollo-type program to solve our energy needs in this country. I believe in the power of the human mind and spirit. We, especially as Americans, when we commit to doing something, we get it done. We said we were going to go to the moon, we went to the moon. So what we need to do, this Apollo-type program, is commit to getting ourselves off of our dependency on fossil fuels and go to all renewable. And I recently visited Revision Energy in Brentwood, and I had a conversation with them. They're a solar power company. And I'm open to giving some subsidies to renewable energy resources. And they actually said to me, no, we don't need it. Take the subsidies away from the mature industries, coal, oil, whatnot, and make it a level playing field, and we can compete. And that'll get us where we need to go for renewables. I also want to make sure that we take care of the people that are in the non-renewable energy sector right now and not leave them behind.
Sure.
So just like we had an auto bailout and we saved the auto industry, what we'll need is a bailout for the individuals that are currently working with non-renewable energy resources and give them what they need to retrain, provide them opportunities for new jobs. I will not forget them. But we do need to make this transition because our planet's in danger.
Right. Well, climate change, a very, very significant problem. We're hearing about different aspects of the weather across our country, but around the world. And you mentioned two things. We're going to break in about a minute, but want to get to these. The rising sea levels,
Yes.
which could hurt us. We don't have a large coastline, but we have 17 miles. That's number one. And we used to have 4 seasons here. We don't anymore. So we've got to address those things. And as a person in the Congress of the United States, you set policy.
Yes.
And what would be your opinion of how that policy should be enacted?
So that Apollo type program would be the legislation that I introduce, but then we also need Congress to have a constitutional check on this administration. And I think it's terrible that we pulled out of the Paris Accords.
Yes.
We need to be a leader in the world on these issues. We can't isolate ourselves. This is a very small planet and we're all connected. So we also, our office held a field hearing on the top of Cannon Mountain a few years back to talk about climate change and how it's impacting our tourism industry here in New Hampshire. And it's impacting us all over the United States. So I will introduce legislation. I will co-introduce other people's legislation that takes the lead on these issues and do everything I can.
Naomi Andrews is our guest on the Progress Report. She's a candidate for Congress of the United States in the 1st Congressional District. She's been around and knows the business, and we'll be back to talk more with Naomi right after this message. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Progress Report. Bob Backus is on injured reserve tonight, but Naomi Andrews is here, and we have a caller on line 1. Welcome to the Progress Report. Go ahead, please. You're on the Progress Report. Let's try again. Welcome to the Progress Report. Go ahead. Did we lose him?
Yeah, if you hit the button again, you lost them. So no problem.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Well, we'll be waiting. We'll be waiting for a call in from Congressman Shea Porter. But you wanted to talk about campaign finance reform. So while we're awaiting the Congresswoman, let's hear about campaign finance reform. Big deal in today's world, finance reform.
It really, really is. And it's been something we've been talking about since the very beginning. And Carol and I, as her chief of staff and campaign manager, we have been practicing campaign finance reform since the very beginning. And people, especially in Washington, think we're crazy. They said, why are you going to show up to a fight with an arm tied behind your back? And we said, because it's the right thing to do. There's way too much big money and special interests in politics. And we're talking back in 2006. This was before the Citizens United decision.
Right.
So you can imagine in 2010, when the Citizens United decision was made, I collapsed on the couch in the congressional office and I said, we can't even begin to fathom what this means for our country. And I was right. The cesspool of dark money is one of the gravest threats to our democracy. And so I will continue practicing campaign finance reform. It's heartening to see so many others follow Carol's lead across the country on this
Right.
issue. And I will sponsor and co-sponsor legislation, anything we can do to make changes to this big, serious problem.
Well, I agree with you. It's a serious problem. What do you think about public financing of campaigns? Is that a reality?
I think it should be on the table and something that we should work towards. And also, it's, so many people have asked me, okay, so when you get down to Washington, will you have to go down and do those 30 hours of call time every week? And my answer to them is no. We never have. I never will. I will be in my seat in committee. I will be on the floor voting and making speeches and in my office with constituents. So we know that we can win this district without all of that big money. And so I will continue to do that. But then I also want legislation so that not everyone doesn't have to do
I'm
that.
not sure you want a level playing field, right? Okay. Our guest is Naomi Andrews, candidate for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. Naomi Andrews is from Epping. She's been in the public sector for 11 years, was Carol Shea Porter's campaign manager, is Carol Shea Porter, current Congresswoman's chief of staff, knows the business, and has been very active in the business of politics, which is a strange business, Naomi, I'll tell you that, a strange business. Now, what's the second item we wanted to discuss? We've got campaign finance reform squared away at this point in time, and I think we have a very clear indication of what your motivation is, how you'd like to see it change, and how meaningful it is to the process, not only in your campaign, but across the board. Second issue.
I want to talk to the Republican viewers who might be tuned in tonight. Talk to you in advance of the general. That not a lot of people know this fact. We are a progressive Democratic office, right? But earlier this year, there was an independent study of all of the members of Congress to say who was the most bipartisan. And our office came out on top. So should I win when I win? You have my commitment that I would continue that tradition.
Right.
And we were also named by Huffington Post one of the hardest working offices. And once again, that tradition would continue under my watch.
Well, I think two very significant items, bipartisanship and hard work. Hard work pays off, Naomi, in this business.
It does.
I'll vouch for it.
Yes.
Hard work pays off, and I've been in the business a while, and so it pays off. Naomi Andrews, candidate for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. Very quickly, while we're awaiting Carol Shea Porter's call, the 1st Congressional District, where is it? And about half of the state of New Hampshire geographically, but where is exactly the 1st Congressional District?
I explain to people that the state is divided roughly east-west, that we only have 2 members of Congress. So Annie
Right.
Custer right now represents the 2nd District, and Carol Shea Porter has the 1st District. So we go from Manchester all the way over to the Seacoast, and then all the way up, a little past North Conway to Jackson. And then it's roughly east-west down the line from there.
Okay. And the critical centers in this primary, Naomi, what are the critical votes that one must get in order to win this primary? Where are they?
Every town. There are
Every
80
town.
towns in this district, and I'm working hard at every single one. But, the population centers,
Yes, yeah.
Manchester, Rochester, Dover, Portsmouth, those are some of our larger places in the
And we get
Somersworth.
fairly decent turnouts, Democratic turnouts in those areas that you have just mentioned.
Yes.
Years and years ago, they used to say the North Country made the difference in elections, but that population has moved south. And the critical mass is in those towns that you have mentioned. But certainly you don't want to miss any vote,
No.
because every vote counts.
Yes.
And while we're talking about votes, Naomi, what about the voter suppression acts that have been brought forth through the legislature? What effect is that going to have on the primary voter, in your opinion?
So I am not a fan of the law that was just passed, but I do want everyone to know that that does not take effect
Effect
until
until
July
19.
of 2019. So I've had a number of young people come up and say, I can't vote. That's not true. That law doesn't come into effect until July of 2019.
Right.
But when I'm in Congress, I would support legislation to bring back Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. And Section 5 looked at laws passed by states and localities that impacted people's access to voting. And I believe that bill would be examined once we get Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act back into effect.
Okay, Senator, you have your call on line
Okay,
one.
thank you. All right, our call is here.
Yes, just hit it once and just
I got it.
say hello and
Hello, Representative Shea Porter, are you on the line?
I am. How are
Okay.
you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome to the Progress Report. Bob Backus is on injured reserve tonight, so we got him on the sidelines. But Naomi's here and anxiously awaiting the conversation. So thanks so much for taking the time to be here, and I'm sure you're here on her behalf.
Yes, I'm glad to talk to a political pro like you. And if it's raining in Manchester like it's raining in Rochester right now, if we get cut off, you can blame it on this downpour.
I will.
So,
Great.
thanks for the invite to be on the show.
Oh, thanks so much for calling in, Carol. And Naomi's the candidate. She's been with you a long time. Give us an indication of why you're so active in your support of Naomi for the seat that you're vacating.
Because I know her so well, and I've watched Naomi, handle everything, and I mean everything that comes into a congressional office and all of the politics, the constituent services. She has had to oversee everything. She's incredibly competent. She's calm. She handles it. She's really, really nice. I think everybody, whether they have been a supporter of us politically or a supporter in the office, will say that how nice she is. I think if people read any of those letters that her teachers, former teachers have written, etc., that's the theme there. But she's also an incredible achiever. So when you put that together with all the experience that she has, I know that there are other good candidates, but I do believe that Naomi's background, the experience, and everything else just pushes her above. And all those years working together, you don't stay working together unless you really respect that person delivers. And Naomi's always delivered.
Right. And in her experience, her 11 years with you as campaign manager and chief of staff running the office in D.C., and would you highlight some of the key components that together you have brought forth in terms of the Congress that I think Naomi can campaign on as good deeds done for the people of the state of New Hampshire?
Oh, sure. Well, when we first got in there, Naomi laughs and says that she had to learn how to where to buy pens. So when you go into a congressional office, you really do start at the very beginning. There's like nothing in there. And Naomi went in very willingly. She's got a great education, and the student loans to prove it. But it's a great education. She came in, she just decided that she wanted to work for me because we shared our values and
Sure.
same values, and she wanted to help the state. She knew that I was an environmentalist, she was an environmentalist. she knew, that I cared about working men and women. So did she. So our backgrounds matched very well. But what she did for me was, first of all, get that office established and working hard and serving people. She put together a team that I think most people around the district will tell you, and I'm proud to say that I think we have a special report with veterans as well, but people around the district will tell you that we have provided excellent constituent service, and that is Naomi and the people that she has hired. And the fact that we have kept that team together, I think, is a great credit to Naomi. When we lost, she came back and worked for my campaign manager, and of course we won, so she's politically astute, but she's very good with relationships and people. So she was able to put together a workforce for us that wanted to serve the people of New Hampshire. And the rules always were that if you wanted to work in our office, you had to be not just really competent, but really compassionate. And that group that has stayed with us is experienced and competent and really, really kind. I'm proud of that. You can get people who are very good but very officious, very proper.
Right.
Or you can get people that are warm in addition to being very competent. So Naomi had a good eye for helping us get a great team together. Then she's worked on all this legislation that we all care about so much. Some of our latest problems, as you know, unfortunately have been involved with the water, the PFOAs, and the water problems that we're having. And we've had to work hard on that. She's a great environmentalist. Long before people were paying attention to it, we were looking at the problem in New Hampshire along, and I'm talking, when I say people, I'm talking about members of Congress that hadn't really paid attention and financed some research to find out what was happening as the seawater is rising. And we were putting forth legislation to give towns along the sea coast funds so that they could do preparation and prepare for that. So far-sighted, looking out there, seeing what was coming. Then, of course, we had to work through all of the issues that we have on the Armed Services Committee. Remember when I came in, we were deep into Iraq and Afghanistan, and then with the VA, we've had problems with the Manchester VA, and Naomi has worked right alongside, making sure that we heard the people, that we were doing the best that we could to turn that around. Small businesses, the same thing. So, when you look, you can see that there's a long trail, and Naomi has worked right alongside of me to do the good that we've done, along with my other office staff who have really been remarkable. But again, Naomi helped to put that team together. So I'm very proud of what she's done and what she chose out. Now, what I haven't done with her, she hikes those mountains, and I don't.
Right, she mentioned that. She mentioned that she's a very athletic and had climbed the mountains, all the 4,000 footers, and it continues to work on her physical conditioning. And, hey, it's a tough job being in politics, and you have to be physically prepared in order to do it.
You really do.
Yes.
But the thing is, it's really funny because she'll come back and she'll show me pictures of her or videos of her like bungee jumping and doing all these things. And the rule is don't come back hurt.
Right.
Don't come back hurt.
I think that's a great rule. Carol, constituent services is the cornerstone of I think of any representative, be it in the Congress or here in New Hampshire. But constituent services and Naomi's work with regard to constituent services, and particularly in the veterans area. We have the problem with the VA hospital here in Manchester. That seems to have taken the right turn. I think Senator Shaheen's been involved with it. You've been involved with it. The role that Naomi played. And now, as your chief of staff, she's got to put things together for you. I mean, obviously they're at your direction, but she's got to put them together and make them happen. Give us an example of that as it relates to veteran services.
Yeah, she really does. She needs to know who the key players are. She needs to make sure that I am seeing them, that they're seeing us. She worked hard to make sure that each issue that came up, she was looking at. Part of what we have to do every single day is we have to devote at least an hour, and we have to do this before work, reading everything, reading what everybody said, so we're prepared for
Right.
the work of that day, and so that I'm briefed.
Yes.
So in order for her to brief me, she needs to do all of that work before we even set foot in the office for the day. So, and we have others who, of course, will help us. We have a team briefing so that we pay very close attention to what's happening in New Hampshire. And Naomi has always led that. So we'll bring everybody in, that's relevant to it.
Right.
And Naomi will present this and say, okay, here's the situation. Dada, will you speak about this? And have each person speak about it, and then, work on what to do there. So in order to, and of course, what was happening at the VA when it started to be revealed was horrifying.
Yes.
And it required a response that was really empathetic to the people who had been impacted, empathetic to so many of those great workers at the VA who love their vets and were not responsible for it, and then also making sure that we were holding those who were responsible, accountable, and working at the top level with the head of the VA.
Sure.
And of course, it's had several changes in that.
Yes.
So it's just really paying very close attention to all of the players and looking and saying, what are the steps to take here. She also works with other chiefs of staff and calls them. And so when we see legislation that we think is good, or we want to work in some legislation, Naomi would reach out to other chiefs of staff and talk to them about it so we could get people to get on board and sign letters or do whatever it was that we needed to do.
In addition, with constituent services, on election night 2016, I had just managed a successful congressional campaign and should have felt happy about that, but I was troubled by the direction our country would be going in due to the outcome. But the silver lining that gave me hope that night, I knew that on the legislative end, it would be more difficult. We have had accomplishments this year, but it was going to be more difficult in the minority.
Right.
But I knew that we could provide exemplary constituent services. I knew that every person that walked through our door or called our office would be treated with dignity and respect, and we would do everything in our power to help them, whatever issue they had with the federal government. If they were not getting their VA benefits, they weren't getting their Social Security check, they were owed a medal due to them for their service in the military.
Right.
And actually, our director of constituent services just received an award for exemplary constituent services.
Wow.
And it was for all of her work, but also with her work with the immigration and refugees, the refugees in our state that sought religious asylum. She worked very hard along with Carol and I on this issue. And there were so many Republican leaders even in our district that had my congressional cell phone and said, Naomi, I'm calling you. We're having someone sent to your office because we know that your team will do everything that you can for them. Another example is a constituent came to us. They had a young child going into college. They were filling out the financial aid form. They had an adult dependent. At the time, the financial aid administrator couldn't take into consideration the adult dependent.
Right.
So we couldn't fix that at the agency level. So our constituent services team sent it to our legislative team in Washington. We wrote up and passed legislation that allowed financial aid administrators to consider adult dependents.
Wow.
So we have just this fantastic team, the constituent service end, and then communicating with the legislative end to accomplish great things.
That makes good sense. So, Carol, if you were going to sum it up,
Here's an interesting
Sure.
story that most people don't know. It reminds me when Naomi was talking about our wonderful constituent services director. When I first came into office, Naomi and I took a look at Jeff Bradley's staff, and we thought he had a great staff. They were good public servants. And so we offered them jobs.
Wow.
And one of them did accept and became, our constituent services director and stayed with us until our loss in that election, and stayed with us comfortably. We said
sure.
to her, we're Democrats, you're Republican, but when we provide constituent services, we're just Americans. We're just people from New Hampshire trying to help other people from New Hampshire.
Sure.
If you're comfortable with us, we're very comfortable with you. And she said she was. And so she stayed with us and then came back to us. So, and then when I lost in 14, she went to work somewhere else. We love her and we're still, in touch with her. But that's the kind of thing I think New Hampshire deserves.
Sure.
We're able to work together.
Right, great bipartisanship. So, Carol, if you were to give a ringing endorsement to Naomi, give it now. This is really your shot to get her over the hump.
Okay, so I would be honored to call Naomi not just my friend, not just the person who has run 2 campaigns and kept my office going and has helped me and worked and cared about the people, but I'd be proud if she were my daughter. And so I think that is really when you think about it, when you love and respect somebody so much and their work is so excellent, you know how parents brag about their kids and their work.
They sure do.
I'd be proud to make her my second daughter. I've got one daughter who I absolutely adore, and my daughter calls her fake sister. That's how close they are. And I think that speaks volumes to Naomi, that when we know her so well, we love her that much. And she will always serve the people of this district. There'll be a star sitting there caring about them and thinking each day about how she can make people's lives better. That's the Naomi I know. That's the Naomi that my family has watched. That's the Naomi that the people on the Hill have seen, and that's the Naomi that people who have approached our office for help have seen. So she's really absolutely terrific. It takes nothing from the other candidates.
Right.
Some of them are really good friends of mine, but I do think that Naomi is that person that hits the ground running, as she says, on day one, ready to go, and she'll never disappoint the people.
Well, that's a ringing endorsement, Naomi, and you've got a lot to live up to with Congresswoman Shea Porter leaving and that seat vacant, but indeed still needs that same aggressive attitude that Shea Porter brought to it. Carol, thank you so much for coming on, and have a wonderful retirement. You deserve nothing but the very best, and thank you for your service to the people of the state of New Hampshire.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. And I just want to tell people that I'm still going to stay active. I care about these issues. You don't just turn and walk away,
Sure.
as you know so well.
Right.
That you stay, giving to the community that's given so much to you. So thank you for your kind thoughts.
Thank you, Carol. Thanks so much. And Naomi is very appreciative. She's smiling here and says nothing like a good boost from the current Congresswoman. Thank you, Carol, and have a great...
She deserves it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, Naomi, not bad. A sitting Congresswoman gives you that ringing endorsement. You've been with her a long time, so she knows you and knows you well. And she says she'll be working throughout the rest of her time and is going to be working in this campaign. Well, about 6 weeks left in the campaign, Naomi. What's the plan? I don't want you to give out all the details because the other 10 will grab onto it. But indeed, you got 6 weeks to make it. 6 weeks to make it. Say 19,000 people vote. What percentage of the vote is going to be required to win? How's that going to be achieved?
I really have the energy that it takes to win, and I promise you no one will outwork me. I have been all around this district, and I will continue to be all around this district, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to earn as many votes as I can. In every single town in this district, I'm not leaving any stone unturned.
Sure.
I will be everywhere, and if I haven't seen you yet, call me, write me, email me, and I'll come and talk to you because I really want to earn every possible vote.
Right. Every vote counts.
It does.
Every vote counts. Mm-hmm. It's Naomi Andrews, candidate for Congress in the 1st Congressional District, who's our guest this evening. Bob Backus can't be here. He's on injured reserve, but he's going to make a strong comeback next week, and he's sorry that he couldn't be here. We've just had Representative Carol Shea Porter on the line. Carol Shea Porter has given her solid endorsement to Naomi in this race and has worked with Naomi for 11 years. Both as her campaign manager and her chief of staff, and focused on constituent services, Naomi. And I think that's the key in any of our business when it comes to representation. citizen services, constituent services, and that's got to be done. I mean, that's the hallmark of a good legislator, in my opinion. So got to do it, and you've got the experience to do that. So, as I said, with 6 weeks left, Naomi, there will be no stone left unturned. You got the whole district to work at. I'm sure you're walking, you're riding, you're running, you're trying to get them all. But what do you see as the big events that will be happening over the next 6 weeks that you'll be a part of?
The New Hampshire Democratic Party is hosting a series of forums.
Okay.
And so almost every Thursday of this month, starting in Rockingham County this Thursday, Belknap County, and then Stratford County, and finally, the final Thursday of this month, most important for the viewers watching right now, Manchester. So that's the final Thursday of this month. Manchester will have a forum. I hope everyone that's watching will come out and
Sure.
see all the candidates.
Right. Where will the forum be held? Has it been made known where it will be held?
They have not made it known yet, but please, you can keep an eye on my website, naomiandrews.com, or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My handle for all of those is Naomi for NH. And also the New Hampshire Democratic Party
Good.
will announce the location when it's been determined, but it'll be the last Thursday in August in the evening,
In the evening? What's the time frame, so to speak?
6:30 to 8:30.
6:30 to 8:30. And will all 11 candidates be there?
All 11 will be invited.
Invited, sure.
Yes.
Invited. That's the key. All 11 will be invited, and we'll have an opportunity to. Who will the moderator be, or have you chosen one?
So it's the New Hampshire Democratic Party who's hosting it, and as far as I've been made aware of, I'm not sure who the moderator is.
Okay, I think we have another call. Welcome to the progress report. You're on the air. Bob, you're on the air.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for taking the call.
My pleasure.
About many months ago, 17 U.S. intelligence agencies concluded that the Russians had meddled with our elections. And Facebook has just reported in the last couple of days that meddling continues. So my question is, there are about 14 states in the country that use paperless voting machines. And I'm wondering if the candidate would support legislation that would require that those 14 states that are using essentially unauditable voting machines to use paper ballots. In other words, machines that use a paper ballot.
Okay, and you want her answer on that? Okay, Naomi's ready. She'll give it to you.
Thank you so much for your question, Bob. Yes, I've talked to a number of experts in cybersecurity and hacking, and it's clear that the machines are way too easily hackable. So I strongly support paper ballots. I always talk about this when I talk about access to voting rights, because I want to make voting accessible, easier for people. I want more people to vote. I think it's really important, but I always clarify in my remarks that paper ballots have to be the way to go because of the security risks.
Okay, Bob, does that answer your question? Or do you have another one?
It does, and I would just, I would just also include in that some of the states that bought those paperless voting machines bought those machines knowing about the Harry Hursty attack in Tallahassee, Florida, in which that was in 2005 or 6, I think. So, those states were on notice that they should not have purchased millions of dollars worth of paperless voting machines.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just all the more important in this day and age with Russian meddling, perhaps meddling that could come from other entities as well,
right.
that we have machines that can be audited.
Great point. Very good point. And that's a must. Having been involved in a recount, I can tell you how important the paper ballot is. That's for sure. And I think if you read David Souter's Minority Report on the Gore versus Bush race, you get a lot out of that when it comes to ballots. So, Bob, thank you so much for your call, and you have a great night. Thank you.
Yes, and thanks to the candidate as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Naomi, we got about 5 minutes left, and you give your best pitch to the people who are viewing this program as to why Naomi Andrews should be their choice for Congress in the 1st Congressional District on the Democratic ballot that comes in the September primary.
Thank you.
Go get 'em.
Thank you so much, Senator. It's really been great sitting here and talking with you this evening. Wish Bob a speedy recovery.
Yes.
What it comes down to is I have the experience, the enthusiasm, and the courage to serve the people of this district that I love so much. I will never forget that public office is a public trust. I hope that everyone watching tonight will look at my website. I've been writing a bi-weekly column, and that's on my website. And we'll look at any of my social media. Like I said, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Naomi for NH. Follow along, join the team. I'm running a grassroots campaign just like I've always done, and I need everyone's help and support. And I would really appreciate if I have yours. And then I'll be out there working hard between now and September 11th to earn every vote that I can. So I hope that you'll join me. I hope that you'll follow along, and I would really like to earn your vote on primary day, September 11th.
Naomi, are there any particular places where you're going to be in this viewing district? In Manchester, say, Auburn, Candia, Raymond, Bedford, Hooksett. Any particular places you're going to be and a time you're going to be there where people might meet you personally?
Absolutely. So those of you who are watching in Bedford, there is an ice cream social on Monday night, and members of my team, including Carol Shea Porter, will be there. I had a prior commitment, so I won't be there, but I hope that you'll come out and talk to the members of my team, including your Congresswoman Carol Shea Porter, and ask them why they were supporting me. And Candia will have an Old Home Day coming up in the upcoming weeks, and so we'll have a presence there. And in Manchester, there'll be a number of events, so please look at my website. Obviously, Manchester's a big town, and we'll be here often, so that's the best place to see where I'll be. And please invite me. Like I said, if I haven't met you or haven't seen you, please invite me. I would love to meet you.
So our candidate is Naomi Andrews, running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. September primaries coming up. You got a big choice. You got 11 people to choose from. Naomi's giving you the best reasons why you should be voting for her in the September primary on the Democratic ballot. We encourage everybody to get out to vote.
Yes.
I mean, that's the key issue, I think. Get out to vote. This is a democracy, and the way to keep the democracy viable and vibrant is to participate. And we've got to have participation. And Manchester has 12 wards. We expect, we hope for a good turnout. We had 308 people register most recently. That's the most recent number. I just got that from our city clerk's office, 308 new registrants. About half are Republican, half are Democrat, and significant number of independents. Obviously, that's always the race. But indeed, voter turnout's going to be the key. You got to get them out there to vote. Don't forget the ice cream social in Bedford. Hey, there's nothing like ice cream. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. I did that when I was a student at UNH. It's Naomi Andrews for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. She has the experience. She has the support of the current Congresswoman, Carol Shea Porter. She's one of 11, and she's looking forward to your support. So, Naomi, we got a minute left. Give them the last pitch.
You know, Granny D always said democracy is not something we have, it's something we do. So I concur. Please go out and vote, and I hope to earn your vote.
Thank you very much for being here. It's Naomi Andrews, candidate for Congress in the 1st Congressional District in the September primary. We want you to vote Democrat, obviously, and hopefully she'll have good success. Thanks for watching. Again, Bob will be back next week. He's recovering from that bad back. We'll take him off the injured reserve. And all of you have a great, great, great American Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.